Welcome to the Getting High on Leadership series featuring Paul Karasik. Paul is one of America's top management consultants helping leaders succeed. He is the author of 9 books, including Sweet Persuasion and Brilliant Thoughts and Provocative Questions. His insights appear regularly in major publications, and he is one of the most sought-after executive coaches. Paul founded the American Seminar Leaders Association and the Psychedelic Institute of Los Angeles. He is a popular speaker at national conferences and has been on stages across all 50 states and internationally. Paul's work addresses the question, how can we transform conflict in business into collaboration? With decades of experience in management, leadership, and psychedelics, he brings a unique perspective on personal and societal growth. In this series, we'll be discussing his latest book, Getting High on Leadership, The Leader's Guide to Higher Consciousness. We'll be exploring the concepts, techniques, and mindset required to revolutionize leadership. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the series. I'm your host, Rob Sanchez, and we are joined by the author, Paul Karasik. His book, Getting High on Leadership, is all about becoming and encouraging conscious leadership. So we are spending time in each section of the book discussing just that. How do we take this section in, and how do we become a better leader using it as another brick in our pathway? Today's section is called Setting Rules, and it can be found on page 103. And I think setting rules can often be where some leaders begin. It's a very managerial aspect of leadership, but I think there's a deepity here that deserves discussion, and that's what we're here to do today. Paul, where should we begin?
Well, this is a short chapter because really I'm saying to people, don't set rules. Because when you set rules and you make laws, you create outlaws. And that's what you're doing, because somebody's going to go against that.
And now, because you've created the outlaws, you need a hall monitor or a sheriff, and then you're going to need a prison or some kind of detention system. And you've really invested a lot of effort in maybe something not so productive.
Yeah, and it's really, it's the technique of an ineffective leader to create rules.
Because really that leader is just casting something down, right? Kind of from on high, saying like, hey, no, on Tuesdays you need to wear this shirt. I don't really, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. Thank you. I'm your leader. Goodbye.
Exactly. There's no consciousness in it, in rules. And you want as few rules as possible. That's really the secret. Let consciousness rule. If consciousness is part of the everyday experience, then let that rule, not making laws about behavior, because it never works. Laws don't change behavior. They just punish people when they get caught, but they don't stop murder, robbery, drugs. Laws don't do a thing. If you think about it,
it's a way to go back, right? It's the retroactive way to assign blame, which is also not healthy for an organization or a leadership role.
No, there's nothing positive that's going to come out of that. Creating, and the more rules you create, the more, like you say, the more cops you need, the more judges you need, the more prisons you need. And it's horrible. I remember when my 2 girls were just very easy as a parent. I can't remember them. They just never behaved badly. I just feel really lucky. They did what was right. But on occasion, one particular time that my daughter Sky was misbehaving, we had to punish her. It's pretty crazy. Once in her whole life, that was it. And it was the way she was treating her sister, and we felt it really necessary to set the law down, And that evening was terrible because we couldn't go out. the laws restricted us. By punishing her, we were punishing ourselves.
Yes.
And so we were lucky in that sense. We didn't have to punish ourselves. But but we saw really quick that the law she had to stay in her room for the evening, but we couldn't go out. We couldn't go out for dinner. We couldn't go out and have fun. We had to stay
Someone
there.
else had to be there. Yeah.
We had to be there for her, and it wasn't great. It was just a horrible experience. That's all the stuff you're going to get into when it comes to rules.
So you can't avoid them, but you need to be very aware of all the trappings that come with them, and be gentle with the number of rules you have, right? Because I mean, in an organization or relationship, there are rules. Like you can't say necessarily that there are none. No. There are like for you and I talking here. Obviously, I shouldn't take the call from my phone in the car to record our our session. I think that's kind of a rule, but I mean, if I show up on the phone, there's probably a conscious reason why I'm there, right, and not here in the normal setup.
Yeah. No, you make a good point that there's got to be rules. You got to show up at 9:00 if that's when the day starts.
It's more like the in between, right? The rules that would navigate that day to day outside of just the ceremonial structure. This is how we work. But then in the day to day, in the conversations, that's where you want to be careful about laying down any rules or guardrails that are unnecessary.
Just minimize them. Yeah. I mean, just, and I think defer to consciousness as much as you can. And to say, our people, they come in, they work hard. I don't have to monitor them or be a cop to the people on the team. They know what to do. I trust them. And as opposed to creating a lot of rules, right? It's so much easier just to have consciousness rule rather than to create rules. And
right.
And that's what needs to be, things that could create consciousness, things that liberate consciousness. All those things are what we want to be focusing on, but not telling people what to do and making rules about it.
The heavy-handed law book style rules that I'm sure everyone watching has seen in a company that they've been part of.
Everybody has.
Yeah. And you can often wonder who set this rule? When was this? When did this become a thing? And you're like, well, it's been in the employee handbook for a decade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what kind of business this is going to be.
Yeah. But think about it. rules don't change any behavior anyway. I mean, if you think about it, I don't murder because there's a law against murder.
It's not like you're about to commit a crime and you're like, hey, well, because they said this,
it's against
I'm actually not going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. And so
there are those conscious elements that play into whether or not you would want to do that or whether or not you would break the law.
Do we really need rules about that stuff? If consciousness is present in ourselves and the people around us, did they really need to be told the minutiae about behavior, or would the correct behavior just sort of evolve? When our ego is subsided, when we're able to put it in its proper perspective and proper place, then we immediately do the right things. We do what's right. We treat people with care and respect because we don't feel it's taking anything from us to do that. Those things all happen naturally without rules. So I say in the chapter, the best rules is no rules. And the only rule that you should really want to follow is the golden rule. That's the rule of all rules, to treat others as we want to be treated. And I think if you follow that, then you don't need a lot of the other rules.
Yeah, if you embody that and instill that within your team and kind of within your
Mm-hmm.
culture at the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
That drives everything else you'd think to build a minute rule around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think
you can't
there's a
legislate morality. That's just the truth of it. And you
right.
can't
It's one of those
legislate.
powers that you don't want to rile against. You don't want to plan
Mm-mm.
against that, against morality or against consciousness, or try to
Yeah.
put it into a box or a set routine,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that that's never going to be the case. You are just wasting time
It's true.
potentially while you plan.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So that's the core takeaway I hear on this chapter is lead with consciousness. Always seek to not put a lot of rules in place.
Yeah,
When you
allowing that consciousness to help the team
mm-hmm.
see what's right, right, and understand actually what's right on a deeper level than just knowing that, hey, rule number 7 says I have to, do X first before I send a message.
Yeah, it's a difference between phoning it in and being authentic, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some authenticity that comes with that, as it's very inauthentic to run the entire team with a guide essentially saying, these are the rules, don't forget rule number 87. I saw someone yesterday do that.
Wow.
That's going to really bring down the energy, right? The vibe, the innovative vibe of the team, the camaraderie you're working to build as a leader. It's just kind of poking holes in that. And you can do it a few times before you notice a problem, but eventually you may be too far down the path.
Mm-hmm. Like to me, I find those conversations very unsatisfying, personally. Like
Yeah.
I want to
At
have the
times
meeting.
they can
I
be
want to
very
have
obvious.
Yeah, I want to have a meeting about consciousness, and then, oh, by the way, send that stuff to so and so. Follow up on that thing.
Yeah.
Let's have
Yeah.
another meeting next week. But I just want to spend the time on consciousness, and then the to dos become, oh, by the ways, and they just there's not enough to even talk about there. In a
They can
sense,
just fall in place while
they
you're
just fall
handling
in
the
place.
greater tasks.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
that's the way to really the way to do it.
that's the mountaintop of
Mm-hmm.
conscious leadership right there. A little glimpse at it for all of our listeners and viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for the wisdom on this one. And thanks, guys, for watching along. Feel free to join us all the way from the very beginning if you've missed a few episodes or pick and choose any that catch your interest. You can grab the book below in the show notes and feel free to reach out to Paul or myself if you have any questions or comments. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Getting High on Leadership series. If you have any questions, you can comment below or send them in via email to paul@paulkarasik.com. Follow him on Instagram at PK_theconversation. Find out more at wholesalerinstitute.com and psychedelic-awakening.com. The Getting High on Leadership series is produced by Rob Sanchez and Apartment 113, which can be found at apartment113.com and followed on Instagram at APT_113.